What it do? It's DOA back with another episode of Putting It Together. Today, we gonna go over this sports betting scandal. Y'all know Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and Damon Jones just got hemmed up with the sports betting allegations and case against them by the FBI. But we gonna dig deeper into it, man. I've been watching the coverage from a lot of different platforms and podcasts, but I see a lot of people making a lot of good points and touching on a lot of issues surrounding it, but I haven't seen anybody go quite as deep as we gonna go. And ain't no better place to come to get that information than putting shit together, because that's what I do, man. I put it all together where it can make sense for you and make those connections that might not be obviously visible to the naked eye. So we gonna start off, man, just going back into the origin of these sports, because y'all know I watch Jason Whitlock. I say this often. And he tends to believe that the hip hop culture and, this urban culture that we see kind of dominating sports and entertainment right now is the reason behind all of this gambling and those type of scandals involved with the sports. But I don't think it's not that simple when you really look into it. I believe this starts at the root of these sports and at the top of that totem pole as far as ownership of these sports go and the councils that oversee these sports. I believe that this is an organized plan by them. And a lot of people don't know, but the Masons had a lot to do with the formation of sports. See, Jason Whitlock says that it's the YMCA, the Young Men's Christian Association, and that's why he doesn't want to give a lot of the onus to the founders and the organizations that run sports, because he believes that they are genuinely wholesome because it's a Christian association and organization that, allegedly had a lot to do with the founding of these sports. But if you actually look at it and look into it, they have a Masonic foundation. And the reason why that's important is because I don't believe anything that is good and wholesome needs to be done in the dark. And these organizations like Freemasonry, like the Greek letter organizations, all the way to the Illuminati, the basis of why you can tell that they have nefarious intent is because it's all done in closed doors, behind closed doors. If you're doing something good for people and humanity, there is no need for you to really do that in secret. There is no need for you to wall yourself off from the public eye in order to do something that's going to be good for the public and the public eye. So that's usually a pretty telling, obvious tip off to there being some nefarious intent involved when you got people doing things behind closed doors. So I don't know if y'all know, but Dr. James Naismith is the credited with founding basketball, the National Basketball Association, basketball as we know it. That's James Naismith, and James Naismith was a Freemason. We can look right here, and it tells you. Dr. James Naismith, a Freemason and past master of Lawrence Lodge number 6 in Kansas, he invented basketball in December of 1891. Naismith created the game to keep students active during the winter at the YMCA. His principles of teamwork and fellowship were integral to the sport's design. So there you have it. Jason Whitlock sees the YMCA Christian Association, he gives them a pass. Me, I see the YMCA, I pull the curtain back. It's Dr. James Naismith, who is a high up Freemason, past master of the Lawrence Lodge number 6 in Kansas. Then we got golf, early golf clubs. The earliest golf clubs in Scotland, such as the Royal Blackheath Golf Club, were exclusive to Freemasons. The Grand Master Mason of Scotland, William St. Clair, was influential in the golfing community, serving as captain of prominent clubs in the 18th century. So there you go with golf. Golf was like a Freemason sport, to be honest, from what we just read right there. And then you got Grand Master Mason of Scotland, William St. Clair, being influential to the golfing community back in the foundation of golf. But moving along to baseball, Masonic influence. Several early baseball figures were Freemasons, including Alexander Cartwright, who helped formalize the rules of the game. Masonic baseball teams and leagues were common in the early 20th century, showcasing the fraternity's involvement in the sport. So you got the dude who's making the rules for baseball is a Freemason. Freemason ball. You feel me? But yeah, baseball's played on a baseball diamond. The baseball diamond looks very similar to the Masonic compass and square symbol that they use to represent the Masons. So there you have it right there. And I say that again to say that there has to be some extra intent besides just getting exercise and teaching young men teamwork. You don't need a Mason to get some exercise. You don't need a Mason to teach a young man some teamwork. You don't need that. So what are y'all discussing at these meetings when y'all coming up with these sports? It's got to be something deeper than just getting exercise and practicing teamwork. Or they would do it out in the public. They wouldn't do it at a lodge. They wouldn't do it walled off from the public eye. You know what I'm saying? Then when we look at the beginning of sports gambling, sports betting, here we go. It has ancient origins. Jason Whitlock and some others are acting like it's got this the urban aspect of it is what is bringing about this gambling, and black men, they want to be mobsters and this and that, and so this culture is rubbing off on the sports world. But look here where sports betting began. Sports betting has ancient origins dating back over 2,000 years, with the earliest documented instances occurring in ancient Greece during the Olympic Games. The practice evolved significantly over time, with the first gambling laws recorded in the late 12th century in England and France, marking the beginning of formal regulation in this field. So there you have it. Sports betting don't come from the urban community. It's not coming from no gang type culture. It's coming from ancient Greece. It's coming from England and France. That's where sports betting began, man. You know what I'm saying? They said the earliest records of organized betting can be traced to ancient Egypt, where people bet on dice and board games. That's where gambling itself came from. But gambling on sports came from ancient Greeks and Romans, engaging in betting during events like the Olympic Games. Now, you tell me what the fuck that got to do with urban culture? Not a thing. It's easy to look and say that everybody that wears a chain or a gold grill or listens to rap music or wears a certain type of fashion is all thinking and moving one way, but that's not true. I'm living proof of that. You know what I'm saying? I got some goals in the back of my mouth. Finna get some more goals. I wear chains too. Maybe not as big a chains as some of these niggas, but hey, I don't have no problem with it for real. If you taking care of your finances and shit like that, like wear what you want to wear. That don't mean that you move a certain way or you think a certain way. Not necessarily. Just because there is some correlation between maybe the way people present themselves and how they move on the street doesn't mean that they're codependent. Doesn't mean that they really go together exclusively. It just don't mean that. But we gonna keep moving because we got a lot to cover. So we see the origins of betting being in ancient Greece and Rome. And then the first sanctioned betting, gambling over sports was in England and France. So we could say that's white as a napkin, for real. But we gonna look at the mob influence in sports betting. And see, it's funny because as I've been watching this coverage unfold, and you know, you got Chauncey Billups, right, that was pretty much funneling people into these poker games who was rigged by the mob, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? Then you had Terry Rozier and Damon Jones was also doing some of that poker funneling, some of that gambling funneling himself, just like Chauncey Billups. But he also was doing some of what Terry Rozier was accused of doing as well, allegedly, which was giving information, insider information about players that wasn't playing, and you know, all these knowledge of the locker room that was exclusive to these teams. He was giving it to nefarious individuals to place bets. You know what I'm saying? So basically giving tips, illegal tips. And then you know, y'all all know Terry Rozier is accused of checking out of a game so that he could tell people to play the under and win money based off of him scoring under the points that he was projected to score. So, you know, you have all these allegations, right? When I heard them, Terry Rozier played for the University of Louisville. And I've always thought that there was some fishy shit going on with the University of Louisville. And I know that to be a fact. Y'all don't know, but, well, y'all probably know, but Louisville was a hub, is a hub for mobsters. People think Chicago when they think the mob, maybe New York when they think the mob, and Las Vegas when they think the mob. But Al Capone and them was coming to Louisville. They was laying low in Louisville and had lots of mob activities in the city of Louisville, Kentucky, back in the day, all the way up until today. And what I thought was interesting a while back was when we got Coach Pitino to come to University of Louisville. I was irate because Coach Pitino had coached at the University of Kentucky, which is the arch rival to the University of Louisville. So I thought it was kind of like blasphemous to even bring him to the city of Louisville as a coach after he was the coach for so many years to our biggest rivals right up the road, 45, 50 minutes up the road. It just smelled funny, to be honest. And it looked as if the University of Kentucky and the University of Louisville were in cahoots and were moving in sync with one another on some level. Then, not only did we have Patino, who a lot of people, man, just on the ear test, just on the eye test, he's like a mobster. And I don't want to, I'm not, this is this is my opinion. He looks like a mobster to me. And I stayed in the basketball dorms with the basketball players when I went to the University of Louisville. It was some brand new dorms that just opened up right when I was going to my freshman year in college. So I had a full scholarship, took it, went to stay in them basketball dorms, man. I can attest to how Patino moves. He moved like a mobster, bruh. His whole fleet, his whole entourage, they pull up all white Benzes. You know what I'm saying? He's known for wearing the white suit in the game and all that shit. And like, just listen to the name. Just sound like a mobster. Then not only did we have Patino, we had Coach Petrino on the football side of the game. And I just thought, like, man, University of Louisville is run by mobsters. It's a lot of things that they've done over the years to lead me to further believe that they've been run by mobsters, but it's sickening in the University of Louisville. Then as I was doing my research on this scandal, what do you know? Louisville pops up in these discussions about the illegal gambling. And we're going to get to it here in a minute. Let me see. Is this the one right here? Yeah, this is it. So they say the alleged connection between the mafia and two former NBA players, Hall of Famer Chauncey Billups and longtime veteran Damon Jones, began the way such things often do, through a little-known intermediary. That's one of the ways organized crime finds its way into the locker rooms and athletes' inner circles, by degrees through introductions that seem harmless enough. It says, what starts as a friendly poker night or an invitation from a trusted acquaintance can before long become something else entirely, a sticky web of influence and soon enough obligation, former prosecutors and those who study the mob say. In this case, prosecutors allege the intermediary was Robert L. Stroud, a 67-year-old Louisville man with a criminal history. What do you know? Louisville pops up, right? Louisville man. In 1994, Stroud killed a man during an evening playing cards and gambling at a home in Louisville, according to local outlet Wave 3 News. Shout out Wave 3. The outlet also reported that when Stroud was pulled over in 2001 for having expired tags, a police officer found sports betting cards, dice, playing cards, and what appeared to be gambling records in the back seat. Stroud recruited Billups and Jones to take part in rigged poker games run by members of New York City's most prominent crime families, according to an indictment and accompanying court documents made public last week. What did I just tell y'all, man? Louisville is the lay low spot for the mob, bro. It says Stroud recruited former professional athletes, including defendants Billups and Damon Jones, into the conspiracy to lure wealthy victims into playing in the games, according to a detention memo filed with the case for their role as face cards and members of the cheating team. Stroud paid them a portion of the criminal proceeds. Stroud, Billups, and Jones were among 34 people, including Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier, arrested last week in connection with two overlapping investigations. One focused on an illegal sports betting scheme that allegedly relied on insider NBA information. The other involved high-stakes poker games linked to the Genovese, Gambino, Lucchese, and Bonanno crime families. Prosecutors say Billups and Jones helped cheat participants out of more than $7 million through the use of X-ray tables, high-tech glasses, and other futuristic tools. Billups' attorney has denied wrongdoing by his client. So I ain't gonna go deeper into that, but don't y'all find it interesting? I just said Louisville is a mob hub. Then it's a Louisville man who is the liaison between Billups, Damon Jones, and the mob. In New York City mob, no less. So he got links to the mob from Louisville and then links the players with the mob in New York City. Come on now. Come on now. We putting it together now. Stay with me. Stay with me, man. Stay with me. This is just the beginning. I got some more tabs to go over, man. Let me see if I'm going to show y'all this technology. We're going to take a quick look at the technology that they was using at these games. Then we're going to come back and get
illegal gambling and betting scandals send shockwaves through the NBA. The FBI arrested 34 people in connection to two separate cases, including Portland Trail Blazers coach Chauncey Billups, who appeared in court yesterday. So one of the cases involves allegations high-stakes poker games. Prosecutors allege the operation involves four of New York's most notorious organized crime families and used celebrities to lure victims known as fish.
What the victims, the fish, didn't know is that everybody else at the poker game, from the dealer to the players, were in on the scam.
I want to bring in Sal Piacente, president of Universal Game Protection Development. Also, I want to say that you're also known as casino consultant and cheating expert. You know a lot about people rigging poker games. Prosecutors say these poker games involve sophisticated technology. Let's start first things first, the glasses. How would someone use a pair of glasses to cheat?
Well, you look at a deck of cards like this, for example. You look at a deck like this, and honestly, you can look at this deck as close as you want. You will not see any markings on these cards whatsoever. However, when I put these glasses on, which you see many poker players wear, now it's, if I look at this card right here, that's a 6, that's a 2, that's a 5, that's a 10 value, that's a 7, that's a 2. So with these glasses, I can actually see the marks on the cards. Now, we tried this before. It worked on some videos, but sometimes it didn't. If you look through that filter,
yes,
you might be able to see the mark on that card.
Yep. Okay, I got you. There's so many other equipment things too. Okay, we got the glasses, a rigged shuffle machine, and scanning devices. Let's talk about that.
Okay, I don't have a rigged shuffle machine here.
Okay.
They go for 100,000 if you know a guy, which I do know a guy.
I'm sure, yeah.
However, what the machine does, it's a deck made too. It's made by Light & Wonder, the biggest casino supplier. And the shuffle machine legitimately has a camera in it. And that camera films every card being dealt, and it knows what came out. And if there's a card missing, it knows exactly what card is missing. Also, at the end of the day, a casino employee could put a deck of cards into that machine, and that machine will put it back in order. Now, the cheaters found a way of putting that camera into the machine. And since it knows what's being dealt, they rigged the machine to be able to transmit to the players on the table who's going to win.
Wow. Okay, you do this by a phone and also through an earpiece. Talk about that.
Correct. Well, first I'll show you this. Now, you can set this up. You look at this phone right here. It looks like a regular phone. If you put your SIM card in here, it's going to act like a regular phone. However, when I punch in a certain code, then it becomes a cheating phone. If I put this deck on the table, if I put the phone on the table, this deck is shuffled. We'll say 3 players because I have a small dealing space. But this phone will scan. It's telling me right now, the third hand will win. So if I deal this hand out right now, and you're sitting in seat 3, you know you're going to win.
Just the way the order is, the phone tells you. So, Sal, I'm wearing an earpiece in my ear right now, so a director can talk to me and my producer. This earpiece is pretty big, so someone would notice I've got something in my ear. So you must be talking about a really tiny earpiece.
A nano earpiece, correct.
Nano earpiece. What does that look like?
Here, this is an inductive loop. This is one around your neck, under your clothing, and it transmits to this earpiece right here. Now, I'm going to put it right here in my hand so you could see it.
Yes.
I mean, honestly, that looks like it's the earpiece. It's not. The earpiece is much smaller. That is the actual earpiece right here.
Look at that. You know.
God damn it, nigga. They killing. They in there killing. So this is what Damon Jones and Chauncey Billups was alleged to be involved with. These type of rigged poker games right here, using some of this technology, well, all of it, and probably some more, like they were saying. So, man, like I told y'all before, when the feds get on your ass, bro, they conviction rate is in the 90 percentiles. They not playing. If these dudes ain't guilty, man, I hope they beat the case, but they got an uphill climb. That's what I say. But back to this, let's get into some of these other tabs real quick. Some of these other tabs. Okay. So back to the Louisville piece, right? I told y'all Louisville is a mob hub. We had Rick Pitino and Bobby Petrino, coaches at the school at the same time. Lo and behold, U of L gets caught up in a scandal of their own. Y'all might have heard about it, but like a madam came out and exposed that they was having these sex parties for the athletes, and they were also passing money to these athletes and recruits under the table, and it was a huge mess when they got caught up with it. And that's not the sole reason why I know the mob is involved. It's a grimy place. A Harvard study showed, they said that Kentucky was the most corrupt state in the United States, man. And it kind of goes under the radar. If you're not from there or from the area, you probably would not suspect or notice. Yeah, this the 2015 sex scandal. Katina Powell claimed she was paid to provide women for sexual activities with players and recruits from 2010 to 2014, right? Yeah, so they got an NCAA suspension or whatever, and they tried to take back they basketball championship, or they did. They took the banner and all this shit, right? Well, thing about Pitino is he's always recruiting players from New York. He gets in Kentucky's a basketball state, so we produce a lot of great basketball players, athletes in general, for real. But Pitino brought him from New York. He's recruiting heavily from New York. He brought Russ Smith. I don't know if y'all know about Russ Smith, but Russ Smith came down from New York at the summons of Rick Pitino, right? And I felt like even though they won a championship while Russ Smith was there, they also lost to Kentucky in a semifinal game in the NCAA tournament that I felt like he threw that game. We had the game well in hand, and Russ Smith started turning the ball over left and right and all of this, just doing goofy shit, missing free throws, clutch time, and we ended up losing. And that's where I began to believe that U of L's got some type of agreement with the University of Kentucky in order to kind of play like a little brother role to the University of Kentucky, where they really don't have to. As far as recruiting goes, talent goes, coaching, the school, like, there's no reason for us to play that role to the University of Kentucky. But there seems to be some outside influence. But we going to look at Russ Smith. We going to look at his background real quick, and then we'll go over them stats from that year, right? So they said Louisville overlooked Smith at first. Assistant coaches Ralph Willard and Steve Mazziello were on a recruiting trip to South Kent in September 2009 looking at another player. They saw Smith, who they thought would be perfect for their system. Mazziello had also known Smith's father since he was 15. So here we go. A connection. They knew his family, right? Louisville started looking at Smith seriously, and Smith liked Louisville so much that he tried to commit before he had a scholarship offer. Mazziello, another mob-sounding name, and he knew Russ Smith's father from a young age, right? So there is the possibility for the mob influence. So we looking for these mob connections. Before he even got to Patino, you got Mazziello, who already knew his father and shit, and he tried to commit before he even had a scholarship offer, which is crazy. Now, right now, Russ Smith plays pro basketball for Pallacanestro Nardo of Serie A2 in Italy. Here we go. Italian. So y'all don't think it's no connection between Patino getting him this opportunity to play in Italy or Mazziello? These both sound like some Italian mobster type names. And now they star player who seems like he threw a game at their command is now playing in Italy, where they probably have strong connections at, right? Also, on top of that, they played like an alumni basketball game, the University of Louisville and the University of Kentucky, right? And the University of Kentucky's team name was La Familia. Some mob shit. Y'all know La Familia. Like, why would they use that, man? It's just I'm just giving y'all all these tidbits so you can put this shit together and see the connections, right? Now, the referees, okay? So we got, hold on, now we was looking at Russ Smith's stats. Okay, here we go. We can see. So, like I was telling you about him possibly throwing that game. So he came back his senior year. This is after winning that championship, right? To silence the doubters, they say, Smith came back to play for his senior year, becoming a much improved shooter, passer, and decision maker. But all that went out the window in the tournament. Smith shot 38.5% from the field, 15.4% from three-point range, and 64.5% from the free throw line. He had an assist to turnover ratio of 0.87 and reverted to his ridiculous ways by attempting 20 field goals against just 3 assists in the Sweet 16 loss to Kentucky. So before he was playing smart ball, sharing the ball, making assists, but in the game against Kentucky, he's taking all the shots. He only had 3 assists, took 20 field goals, and bricked the shit ton of his shots. And that's why I believe he threw that game. I watched that game live in person, and in real time, I said, he's throwing the game. You can see it. So we got that, how the mob can be influenced, and the mob is coursing through these programs, as evidenced by the Petrino. Petrino produced Lamar Jackson, who I've also done videos on and told you that it's more than meets the eye in that situation with him winning that Heisman. And I stand on that. But we gonna move forward into some other shit. So we already saw the origins of betting in sports, beginning in ancient Greek and Rome, and then you had England and France, right? Now, we gonna look at these referees, okay? So y'all know Tim Donaghy's case from 1994 to 2007. He officiated in the NBA. He pled guilty to federal charges related to betting on games he officiated. His actions led to a broader investigation into the influence of gambling on sports officiating. Well, I just seen he's appeared on numerous podcasts and says this is the tip of the iceberg. This is the tip of the iceberg. He says that there's many other referees that are involved in swaying these games for the benefit of gambling, for real. And he also said, he even touched on the fact that Jordan went to baseball because of him being caught up with sports gambling. And this further echoes my point that it's not hip-hop culture that's bringing about this betting, because the best player we know to play basketball was heavily involved in gambling and betting, and he played in Chicago, which is another mob hub. So I'm sure he probably was involved with these mobsters. You see what I'm saying? So Jordan had a bad gambling problem. We got referees that's involved in the rigging of games and gambling. So you can see how deep it is. Look, he says a bigger scandal coming soon after these arrests. He says, I think it's just the tip of the iceberg. You're going to see maybe a more of a bigger scandal coming out of the college level, because you have these young athletes that aren't going to make it to the next level, and somebody is going to offer them money to maybe fix a game and only win by 12 rather than 15, and they're going to take that money because they need a way to support their families. So that just echoes the Russ Smith sentiment. Russ Smith couldn't make it in the NBA, but if he did what I felt like he did, I'm sure he got a nice little payoff from the mob for fixing that UK game. You know what I'm saying? So that lends itself to what I was saying.
I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, like you said earlier, and I think you're going to see maybe more of a bigger scandal coming out of the college level, because you have these young athletes that aren't going to make it to the next level, and somebody's going to offer them money to maybe fix a game and only win by 12 rather than 15, and they're going to take that money because they're going to need a way to support their family. So I think it's just the tip of the iceberg in many different ways.
Boom. There you have it right there, right? Okay, so let's move forward. Now, y'all saw Gilbert Arenas trolling, or maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was deflecting, talking about, because y'all know when he got caught up with his case, with this Israeli mobsters, I think was in his case, right? He said he's snitching. So it's interesting that he got caught up. He said he was going to snitch if he had the opportunity to and had the information to. Now all of a sudden this probe comes out, and you got Chauncey Rozier and Damon Jones caught up, right? Well, Damon Jones, if y'all don't know, is heavily involved with LeBron James also, right? He's LeBron James' shooting coach, or was, and that's what gave him access to the Lakers locker room, which in turn gave him access to the intelligence that he sold off to these nefarious individuals to place these bets where they could break him off and chip him off with the winnings, right? So this has a connection to LeBron James right there, right? Now, Gilbert Arenas might have been joking, but check this out on Maverick Carter. Now, I don't know if y'all heard, but Maverick Carter was supposed to be involved with the formation of that overseas professional basketball league that was going to rival the NBA, right? Him and Jokic's manager or agent or whatever was seen on this yacht, and they was alleged to be discussing the formation of this basketball league. Just a couple weeks ago, it was announced that Maverick Carter pulled out of this business venture, right? He said he don't want to be associated with it. He said LeBron James' close friend and business partner Maverick Carter has walked away from a huge $5 billion project that aimed to rival the NBA, right? And people was wondering, like, why would he drop up out of it, right? Now, don't you think it's interesting that this happened? Now, I'm going to show y'all one other thing that happened with Maverick Carter that a lot of people never heard of. Maverick Carter was caught up in a gambling scandal. Maverick Carter, the business manager of LeBron James, admitted to betting on NBA games through an illegal bookmaker during a federal investigation in 2021. Although he placed around 20 bets, he stated he did not remember betting on the Lakers and was not charged with any wrongdoing. He didn't remember. That's what a nigga say when he's guilty as fuck. Either you did or you didn't. Ain't no, I don't remember. That's what your kids say when they want to lie to you, but they scared to lie to you because they scared to get their ass. Well, I don't remember if I did it or not. Like, come on now. Now, how was he not charged with any wrongdoing? Because he cooperated. He cooperated. So he admitted and he cooperated with investigators. Now, if you admit to wrongdoing and you don't get charged, but then they follow that up by saying he cooperated, that means you snitched. You see what I'm saying? Now, who did he snitch on? Now, this was in 2023. And now keep in mind, these recent indictments didn't start yesterday. They said that they have been collecting intel in this investigation for several years. Now, 2023, Maverick Carter gets jammed up. He starts cooperating. Now, here you go, 2 years later, big indictment rolling out. Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier. Now, you think Maverick Carter shouldn't have snitched on Damon Jones? Like, come on, man. And these is two people around LeBron James that you got involved with these gambling mishaps, little gambling schemes. Two people. And why is it that LeBron James' name is always involved with these scandals? You got the doping scandal, you got the gambling scandal, you got the fake and injury scandal. It's always LeBron James involved in there somehow. But I find that interesting that Maverick Carter cooperated, didn't get charged, and now 2 years later you got a pretty hardcore case against Damon Jones, Terry Rozier, and Chauncey Billups. But I feel like this is why I feel like it's the league as a whole that is pushing this shit. I told y'all before, this league they not in the business of building wealth for these black American players. The commissioners, the boards of these leagues don't got no assists, ain't got no shots. They got all steals. That's what they specialize in, is steals. They stealing back this money that they giving you niggas by pushing gambling, getting niggas addicted to gambling, getting niggas addicted to throwing money in the club and this and that. And that's where hip hop is helping with that. But you can't solely blame hip hop for that. People is pushing hip hop to these niggas on top of it because it aids and abets and what they're trying to pull off anyway, which is the taking back of the wealth that they just gave these niggas. That's why they don't have wealth coaches and wealth classes for these professional athletes built into their programming. What they do have built into their programming is FanDuel, BetMGM, and DraftKings, Prize Picks. They're all in bed with these sports leagues. Now, if you didn't want these athletes to gamble, why would you bring those gambling agencies anywhere near these athletes, these referees, these trainers? Why would you put it in their face? If you don't want somebody to do dope, the last thing you want to do is take them to the dope man. is bring the dope man around them. If you don't want them to do dope, but if you secretly do want them strung out, there's no better way to parade the dope man in front of them, to shake baggies in front of their face and dare them to make a false step. You see what I'm saying? So this is coming from the top down. And the mob been controlling sports. They been having their hands deep in the sports realm. So this ain't nothing new. Let's see. So we gonna look at the notable sports gambling. This is another reason why this ain't got shit to do with no hip hop culture, with no black culture or anything of the sort. In 1919, a Black Sox scandal involved players from the Chicago White Sox conspiring to throw the World Series. This is in baseball. This is the White Sox, who was probably white as a napkin. And it wasn't no hip-hop being played in 1919. So this sports gambling predates hip-hop. You see what I'm saying? 1951, you got the College of New York baseball team was implicated in a point shaving scandal affecting multiple players. 2007, of course, we got Tim Donaghy with the referees and the gambling scandal, which he did some prison time for it. Then in 2024, you had Jonte Porter was banned for life for disclosing confidential information to bettors. But let us not forget that Pete Rose had a humongous scandal that got him pulled out of the Hall of Fame and banned from baseball. So these is white men too. These is non-hip hop playing white men. So y'all let Jason Whitlock know of this information. Tag him in this shit. Send it to him. Share it to him. Here we go. More athletes involved in gambling, right? NFL players and coaches gambling scandals and allegations. We got Josh Shaw of the Cardinals in 2019. Betting on his team on top of it. Calvin Ridley with the Falcons in 2022. Miles Austin, the Jets coach, violated the policy. We got Jameis Williams and Stanley Berryhill, the Lions. I hate to see two Bama players up in there. Then Quintez Cephas, CJ Moore, and Demetrius Taylor with the Lions. They ain't played another game in the NFL since. Nicholas Petit-Frere, Titans. Y'all see this? It's deep. MLB players. We just had Shohei Ohtani caught up in the scandal as well. Now he's out here hitting home runs and striking people out in the World Series, but nobody let that linger over his head. He don't have that nasty taste associated with his brand. Like you see them sticking it to a lot of these black players, which is interesting. And they said, of course, it was his interpreter who got charged with bank fraud and tax evasion. He used Ohtani's funds to repay debts to a bookie and was sentenced to 57 months in prison. And we to act like Shohei Ohtani didn't have no knowledge of that or anything like that, no involvement. And I it don't pass the smell test with me, but then again, that's just how I feel about it. But y'all can make your own assessments of it. But it's like, how LeBron James and the characters like LeBron James and Shohei Ohtani is evading indictment in these cases is more of what I'm saying is from the top down. They sacrificing certain players and certain affiliates, and they're protecting certain other ones. I think they know Adam Silver and the leaders of these leagues, they know very deeply who's involved with it because they got a hand in it. They in bed with the mob. They in bed with FanDuel, BetMGM. They in bed with DraftKings. And, yeah, they giving people up they feeding the FBI, man. They feeding the FBI. They paying people off, I believe. Just all mob tactics. This is what the mob do. The mob will give a few people up. They get indicted every now and then, but in all these centuries, 2 centuries, they ain't been able to shut the mob down, though. You see what I'm saying? Because they be having authorities on the payroll. They be having owners on the payroll. They be having a little bit of everybody on the payroll, and they kind of determine who gets indicted. The people at the top determine who gets indicted. That's the top of the mob. That's the top of the league. That's the top of the FBI. They feeding certain people to the machine, and then others they letting skate through, slide through the cracks, and they keep the show going. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all sticking with me, man, through this breakdown. I probably left a little bit out that I wanted to speak on, but I don't want it to go too long. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate and value y'all's time. It's always a pleasure having y'all tune in, man. If you ain't liked, shared, and subscribed yet, man, go ahead and do that. It ain't nothing but a couple clicks for your boy. You know what I'm saying? We gonna keep this shit pushing, keep it churning. You know what I'm saying? Promote a real one instead of all these fakes and have bakes. So, man, it's a pleasure. As always, man, it's peace and love, love and light, wisdom and insight. DOA putting it together. To the next episode, y'all. Peace.